How's everybody doing today? Okay, we're going to start into the series of looking into the people that may have been involved in depositing whatever it is on Oak Island. We have one lead or actually we have two leads. They're not time period compatible, but one may give us clues to the other. The clues that we have are on this map, and it is down here, the lion cub of Talmont. Now, this is not a new theory. It has already been suggested by many theorists that this is Lewis I of Talmont. I've done my own research and I concur. This is Lewis I of Talmont. It's referring to him. Again, I want to reiterate to people who may be criticizing to comment, this is not an original map. This is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. We don't know how many copies. But what the premise that we're going on is that the recording of the information on this is accurate. And one of the things that I did was an analysis on this, on the words in this document, and they fit with Middle French because it's a mixture of Old French and Middle French. So we're going to start with looking at who this little lion of Talmont was. And I mean, is he somebody that would have the means and motive to deposit whatever he deposited on Oak Island? And did he deposit what is on Oak Island? We'll look into that. And this is going to be very involved, and it is sort of tedious. But I think if you work with it through with me, we will glean some pretty amazing information from this. Now, we have one thing that we did establish in previous videos is the anchor and the oak entrance. We established that by using 20 actual landmarks on Fred Nolan's survey, 6 known vectors that he had laid out, and we used a tolerance of plus or minus 6 feet with a fact-checking criteria of at least 2 points on Fred Nolan's survey and the convergence of at least 2 known vectors from the data on Fred Nolan's survey. So I find that the fact that we found these and were able to locate them gives a little bit more validity to the already complex arrangement and the complex information on this document. It just, to me, it's too much complexity to be thought up and faked as a forgery. I think this information is real, and we're going to go with that premise until we find differently. So I want to get into this. This is the Chateau of Talmont. It is an important place in this theory, and this is not just me, but other people have said this theory. But this probably was the launching place of where, if there was a treasure that came from Jerusalem or Syria, or a treasure of from any place, if it was Crusader or Templar from origin, This is a place where it would probably have made its way across to Oak Island, or if you wanted to connect it with another theory that it went to Scotland, this is a good launching place. And one of the reasons why that is because it says right here down below that the castle was considered invulnerable because it could be resupplied from the sea. And in those days, the sea would have lapped up against the base of the castle. So this, and if we, later on I'll show you it on Google Earth, but this castle used to be right on, it was a seacoast castle. So there's a lot of access to this castle during the time that Lewis the First would have been in control of this castle. And we can see down here, and I've got it in bold, during the 100 Years of War, it was owned by the princes of Tremolay. Now, Louis I was a prince of, he was a viscount of Tremolay, which is basically the same as a prince. And it was pretty much under his control after he got married to Joan II, who was the only daughter of the Duke of Normandy at the time, John II. And John II actually in 1350 becomes King of France. And it wasn't a very good reign, I'll tell you that. But we want to establish that this point right here, this castle, was under the control of Louis I. He had access to it. He probably lived there, maybe. I don't know. But we see, here's the little information about him. And he had 5 children, and 2 of his sons died before he died. And his sons, one of them died pretty early. The other one actually became, I think he was like the Viscount of La Roche. He had some control over La Roche. And that will come up later. That's one of the other Templar strongholds that they say that the treasure went to. And Louis I had control over a lot of that area. And or at least he had a really high influence in a lot of those areas. So let's look at some of Louis's lineage, because who you are in this time period is all based upon lineage. This is the coat of arms for the Thouars family. He is mainly from the Thouars family. And we are going to look at the Thouars family, which is a family that existed 500 years. Louis I was actually the last male that was in the House of Thouars. And his daughter took over when he died, and she was pretty much she was the last person in the House of Thouars, and then it changed over to the House of Valois. But if we look at his lineage of who he was, his ancestors were all pretty much great people, and they had a lot of how can I say it? They had a lot of influence within France. So they were a very powerful family. I put this in here, I bolded this because it mentioned Chinon Castle, one of the wives of Herbert I or something like that, had an affair, and she hid out in Chinon Castle. But that's so. One of the things that I want to talk about is their relationship, who they married. So here's a descendant of Louis I, and he had a wife of that was from this family. And remember this family, Lusignan, the Louisnan family. They are very important. So we're going to make a dot there on that family. The next dot I want to make is this one right here, the companions of William the Conqueror. So this right here, this companions of William the Conqueror. Now, who was William the Conqueror? He was the first Norman king of England. He conquered England in, I think it was 1066 at the Battle of Hastings, and he was the king of England from that time on. I think at least 5 or 6 generations of people after he died ruled over England. So they ruled over England, and they ruled over Normandy, areas in France which border the English Channel. So he had the first dual crown, and we'll talk about dual crowns, but he was both English king and a French king. And he was what you could say English and French. So one thing, that I want to bring this up is it's really interesting that the 90-foot stone is done in English, and then La Formula is translated in French. You have 2 clues on Oak Island, one French, one English. And that's where I'm going with this, is I think the connection of the people who did what was done on Oak Island weren't necessarily Knights Templars. They may have been. I think their lineage was definitely Crusaders, and they may have been Crusaders. But I think one of the more compelling connections is that they were Norman. And there's a lot to be said about being a Norman. So here we go down to his after the conquering of England by William the Conqueror. The Crusades started, and one of his his ancestors, Herbert II, was in the first Crusades. So we're going to find that also when you're in a war with somebody, when you're, let's say, have a buddy who was in the first Crusades with you, I think the bond of that is going to last for a lifetime. And I think that it even lasts longer than that. I think people at that time identified, yeah, my descendant was in the first crusade, and you have a bond by having one of your descendants be part of the first crusades. And we're going to go with that. So look at some of these names down here. Aquitaine. You can read some of this. I'm not going to read it. But the William of Aquitaine. Remember some of these names. Aquitaine. And of course we have Thouars. So we're going to move down here. If you want to pause it, you can pause it, and I'm not going to stop. Again, let's look at some of these names. remember this one, Hugh. There's lots of Hughes. Everybody's named Hugh and Guy and Amory and Jeffrey. It's very confusing. But remember the last names. That's what you want to look at. Is this Luisnan? This is a very prevalent name in the House of Thouars. And when we get into looking at the Knights Templar and the possibility of treasure out of Jerusalem or Syria, this name is going to come up. And it also is going to come up in one of those chateaus down in southern France that we all know of. And this is where it comes in, is this Raymond, the Count of Toulouse. Chateau René's chateau that Rick Lagina went to, that is in this county of Toulouse. And this name comes up. So this guy was married to this woman who was the widow of this guy who had the rule over the area where René's chateau is. And that's where the legendary place of where the Templars, the Knights Templars treasure was supposed to have gone to before it went to Scotland. So we have a connection there. So you can see here, this is his daughter. He was the last. It was extinguished. The House of Thouars was ended after his daughter. He was the last of the male progenitors of the House of Thouars. So that's what I have with this guy. Next time we'll get more into some other people and their connections and how they connect to this time period of the 1300s, the middle 1300s, which through our lead on the map that provided by Zena Halpren will show us a trail of how that treasure got there. All right, that's it for today. Thank you.